Good evening. Well, first of all, thank you, TechCrunch. Thank you, audience, for bringing us here. Thank you very much. We appreciate the opportunity to be here today, and it's really wonderful. Jacob and I have been working on this vision of messaging, communications, and really just the conversation. Zula is a company which was created with the idea that the world's gone mobile. We all need to communicate as teams. But email doesn't really cut it for us all the time. And our phones, I mean, somehow this became my office. And yet I feel very dysfunctional because there's so many times when I need to work with a group of people, and I just can't. Because when we're communicating with email, sometimes we have to share files, sometimes we have to talk to people, sometimes we want to calendar things. And what we did is we looked at the world as mobile, looked at how we communicate as teams, as people, and then we set forth to actually build an application using our application called Zula that actually does this. And rather than me just talk about what we're doing, I'd like to hand it over to my co-founder, CEO of Zula, Jacob Yoùtùbe. Jacob?
Thanks, Jeff. So I'm going to take you quickly through what we do at Zula. And to build on what Jeff was saying, we actually built Zula using Zula. We started off with a very standard messaging stream, a structured messaging stream. And we said, OK, what do we need to add to this for business tools to really get things done together as a team? So I'll start off by taking you quickly through a real stream which was happening today around what we were doing today here at TechCrunch. And it's a team of people involved in Zula who are sitting in 3 different countries and a few different time zones, and we're talking throughout the day. So if you can see, that's a pretty standard stream, but where does it start to get interesting? Well, we need to do things like share files. So for example, we wanted to make sure we had a backup pitch for today in case this didn't work. So we had a PDF, which we could have used. And then we're going to ask people kind of a couple quick questions. So during the day, I asked people, is the conference doing well? So I put out a poll. As part of my post, a dynamic poll, which is part of the post, and I could see how people voted. And then, obviously, you can start adding more stuff in. And we said, OK, what else do we need besides sharing files, besides polling people? Well, we also want to be able to look at all those shared files. So I've got sort of a mini Dropbox, which is actually also integrated into Dropbox and Google Drive. And I can see all the shared files from this conversation. Now, this conversation happened to be taking place over 1 day. But it could have been a conversation taking place over 6 months or 2 years. And let me talk to you about a couple of other elements which we think are super critical for getting things done. As Jeff mentioned, we can calendar, create a calendar event, calendar integration, boom. The whole team gets it. Nobody needs to do anything else. And then, obviously, you want to search the stream. So you want to find out, within a stream that could have been taking place over 2 years, where's that piece that you remember that was going on? And you want to be able to grab that, so we allow you to do that as well. And how do we get people into this stream? For those of us that were creating Zula, obviously we were there already. But how do we invite more people? Well, I invite people into a stream the way I interact with people today, which is really the convergence of our social worlds and our business worlds. So I can pull them in from people I met in Zula. I can pull them in from my contacts, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+. All I do is start typing their name, and all of a sudden people start popping up, and I can decide that I want to invite one of these. What do they get? They get a deep link, which takes them directly to this conversation. We don't leave them hanging out somewhere or searching or trying to find where they're supposed to be. When I invite someone to this conversation, they come straight here. And finally, sometimes all of this back and forth is not enough. And all this asynchronous communication, which we all live and love and work with, just isn't enough. And you say, you know what? I need to talk to you guys. I need to actually have a synchronous conversation, which we used to call a phone call, right now. So we have one-tap conference calling, which if I push this, people's phones are going to start to ring, and some of them are in a 10-hour time zone from here, so I'll leave it off for now. But I push the call button, and everybody gets a push notification. That's part of this conversation. Gets a push notification that I'm requesting a conference call right now. All they have to do to answer is press join, and we're all on the call. There are no phone numbers, no anything. It's a complete VoIP call end to end. And then when we're finished, we can choose to keep that call and record it and do all that kinds of fun stuff with it. And we think that this is the beginning of reducing email, and moving into a much more structured way of communicating as a team. We've been using this for 6 months. We built this product literally using this product. So we know it really helps us get things done, and obviously has way reduced our email. And when I want to find things, I go straight to it, and I know exactly where to find the conversation I want to be in. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, great job. And just as a reminder, they didn't even know they're going to be on stage as of, a couple hours ago until they were informed that they got the audience choice. So, judges, what do you guys think?
Who's the target for this? Like, what size group? Is it really small organizations or small businesses? Like, I don't know how many people are in your organization, but I'm trying to imagine, is this something good for a group of 10 people, or could there be 50 people and sort of there not be too much noise on a thread like this?
Right. So our approach right now is a default Zula goes up to 18 people. So really if you look around a conference table, how many people could really be talking and really having a conversation around that conference table? Obviously, there are people who are going to want that 19th person. That's going to be part of our business model, which is if you want to burst beyond what we think is the default. But above that, we do think it starts to become noise. But it's for teams literally from what we think up to 18 people, and 2 people as a team as well. So 2 people will get all the same advantages of 15 people or 18 people.
Yeah, speaking of teams, can you tell us a little bit more about your team, your guys' backgrounds, as well as you mentioned a 10-hour time zone, so where the rest of your team is?
Right, sometimes it's more than a 10-hour time zone. But the dev team is based in Israel. Our headquarters are in New York. My background is serial entrepreneur, repeatedly doing the same thing, dev team based in Israel, and headquarters either in New York or Silicon Valley. Some of my past companies have been Delta 3, Nomad IQ, which was acquired by OmniSky, Delta 3 owned public, and a few others.
I have also been part of a number of startups. I did start Vonage, and that went public. I've been very active in internet communications for the past 19 years.
I like your commitment to your colors. Awesome. Shoes.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the identity that's backing these logins. You showed me the ability to invite a LinkedIn contact or a Facebook ID. Is that resolving to a Zula account, or are they logging in with that identity provider?
Right, so we give people a number of options how to kind of credential themselves into Zula. They can create a Zula account if they want, and there are those that choose to do it. But we also give you Facebook login, LinkedIn login, and Google login, just if you want to quickly do it that way. And then obviously it carries forward, your picture carries forward from there and all of that. But for people who do want to create a separate Zula login, they can.
So then let's say I want to, you said it integrates with Dropbox or Google Drive. Let's say I want to share a file that is stored in Google Drive. How do I share that to a Facebook contact?
Right, so you would need to very quickly one time kind of OAuth in terms of, for example, some of the third-party services. Give us credentials, and obviously we go as far as they go in terms of allowing third-party apps to integrate. And then it just stays with the system. You don't have to keep doing it over and over again.
So you demonstrated on a mobile device. Is there a desktop client or something as well? Or?
Yeah, so we have iPhone, Android coming out right now, which is what we're announcing here at this conference, and thanks for the opportunity. We have HTML5 in the works. It should be in about 8 to 12 weeks.
And so architecturally, the messages themselves are being stored on your servers. Is there any chance to do that as an on-prem solution for, this is definitely not a solved problem for us. So we every day struggle with how we communicate company-wide, within individual teams, and the solutions that are out there aren't particularly good. But one of the things we struggle with is how do we, there's pretty sensitive information, and I'm not sure I trust you yet, especially as a new company.
You will.
Yeah. So tell me about either how you're protecting that information as it's up in your cloud, and then is there any option for us to actually run it on premise?
Right. So right now we're obviously deploying as an over-the-top service, cloud-based, and our security is based on a couple of layers of security. One, obviously, the partners that we're working with, in this case right now, Google App Engine, and then our own communication protocol, which is securitizing that even more. But obviously, for people who want to run on their own premises, they will be able to do that. We haven't deployed that product yet, and we won't expect to in the next few months.
Would any Zula employee ever have the ability to look at the messages that that we're exchanging internally within a team?
Right. So the short answer is no. All of this is extremely siloed, extremely compartmentalized. So it's essentially just the only people can see that conversation, the people that you've invited to that conversation. Period.
Can you tell us more about the business model? You said that one of the avenues could be if somebody wants to go over it. You know, if you're that 19th person in a company of say 250 people, that could get annoying or prohibitive at some point if every conversation that is over 18 people, you know, we're paying for a seat. What other business models are you thinking about when you're looking at companies?
Sure. So we're looking at teams and team leaders who have discretionary spending. So it could be from within a corporate account or however they're deploying that. So if we're looking at very low $1 monthly subscription amounts for things like having calls recorded and placed into the stream as a value-added service on top of it's a freemium model, so on the emium of the freemium will be things like recording the calls and putting them in, bursting in terms of your shared files going above a certain limit, which we'll give for free, more than a certain amount of Zulas that you create. So all of those we are going to be limiting. Over the next, certainly half year, our main goal is getting as many people and really engaged with this and learning a lot from their experience with it before we start layering on the kind of the pay stuff. But we've already been approached by people, thanks to some exposure through TechCrunch and some other early articles about both doing on-premise type stuff and doing kind of white label or powered by Zula across larger organizations.
We're out of time, sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great job, you guys. That was Zula.